Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Brahma Bulletin. I'm the Bullish Brahma, and I'm here to talk everything San Antonio Brahmas. In today's video, we're going to talk about our 12-10 loss against the Arlington Renegades, the first of a back-to-back home-and-home Texas two-step against our division rivals. So, let's get into it. Well, first of all, we got to talk about what happened there. But let's get into the standings first. All right, so the updated standings is that Houston is now 4-1. They did get their very first defeat in their franchise existence last week against the Seattle Sea Dragons, but they're still kings of the South. Arlington is now 3-2. We are now 1-4 and on a 3-game losing streak. But Orlando is still the bottom feeders, and they are 0-5. But we are just a heartbeat away from being tied for the bottom. But let's not get too negative right now. So if the playoffs were to start today, we would be out of the playoff race, because we are 2 games behind Arlington in the win-loss category. And with Arlington beating us, they have the tiebreaker over us. So they're technically 3 games ahead of us in the playoff standings. But let's not lose hope yet, fans. As crazy it may sound, we are actually still in the playoff race. So let's hold on to that thought, and we really need to get this team to turn around. But we'll get there. All right, so let's take a look at some stats of the game. Well, we had 181 total net yards, 54 yards of rushing. We averaged 3.9 yards per gain on the ground. We had 127 yards passing, a 4.1 average pass attempt. Our third downs was 2 for 10, 20%. We continue to suck on third down conversions. All right, passing, as you probably know, we did have Reed Sinnett and Jack Cohn both play in this game. Now, Reed Sinnett was 13 of 19 for 97 yards, a 5.1 yards per attempt. He did have the only touchdown. He did have a pick, and his quarterback rating was 76.0. And Jack Cohn was 7 of 15 for 42 yards. And get this, a 2.8 yards per attempt. 2.8. That's amazing. When your quarterback is averaging less per pass than your running backs are rushing. Wow. He had no touchdowns. He did have 2 interceptions, both late in the game. And his QBR was 13.9. Oh my gosh, that's hideous. All right, rushing. Our leading rusher was Jacques Patrick, actually a running back to lead our rushing attack, unlike last week, which was our quarterback. But this week, Jacques Patrick had 6 attempts for 6 rushes for 26 yards. He averaged 4.33 yards on the ground. Jack Cohn was number 2. He had 3 attempts for 16 yards, a 5.33 average. Reed Sinnett, our other quarterback, had 1 attempt for 10 yards. Obviously, he averaged 10 yards per carry. And Caleb Balaj had 4 rushing attempts for 2 yards. That means he averaged half a yard per rush. That's right, folks. You heard me correctly. Half a yard per attempt. Wow. Receiving, Kalen Balaj and Jacques Patrick, our 2 running backs, were our leading receivers. Kalen Balaj had 5 catches for 42 yards, an 8.4 average. Jacques Patrick had 5 receptions for 24 yards, a 4.8 average. Now, our leading wide receiver was T.J. Vasher with 2 catches for 19 yards, a 9.5 average, and he did have the touchdown reception. On defense, our leading tackler was Jordan Williams with 11 tackles, and Jack Kerner and Ranthony Tejada both had 1 sack. All right, so what I took away from this game was quite a bit. First, the penalties are just absolutely killing us, man. We had 7 penalties in the game, including back-to-back penalties in the same drive. And this drive, the Arlington was on, turned out to be the game-winning drive. And we had 2 penalties on that drive. The first one, we had a sack that ended the drive. It was going to be 4th and long. They were going to have to punt the ball, but we had a hands to the face penalty, which negated it, gave Arlington new life. And then the very next play, a defensive pass interference call, extended the drive. And then Arlington eventually punched it in the end zone, and that would be the game-winning drive. You know, all these penalties that we've been having lately, to me, that's indicative of a undisciplined team. We're undisciplined, and that's the coaching. That needs to be turned around. We should not be having this many penalties halfway through the season. That's unexcusable. And our third down efficiency continues to suck. I just told you that we had a 20% conversion rate. And you know what? I think that's been our conversion rate pretty much the entire season. So that is our benchmark. We get 20% conversion on third downs, and we're like, all right, we did our job. We're good. That needs to change. It needs to change quickly. My other takeaway was Jack Cohn was just not accurate at all. His completion percentage was under 50%. Again. Now, Reed Sinnett, in his limited action, his completion percentage was 68%. That's not too bad. That's not too bad at all. And I know he had that terrible pass as he was trying to throw the ball in the end zone. Should have been a longer pass, but it is what it is. But I noticed that when he was in the game, our offense seemed to do something. We looked more efficient. We were actually driving the ball. I mean, it wasn't a Houston Roughnecks or Seattle Sea Dragons offense, but it was something. We were actually looked like we were doing something with him at quarterback. And then one of the most questionable things in the game. So he gets us our first touchdown since week 3, because as you know, last week we didn't score a touchdown at all. So he gets us our first touchdown since week 3. And then the very next possession, Jack Cohn goes in the game. And we're like, wait, what? What are you doing? And the coach was quoted on the air on the broadcast as saying that, well, it's Jack Cohn's turn. I'm sorry. Why are we doing this? Why are you taking the quarterback out of the game? The quarterback who led us to a touchdown scoring drive where the offense looked like it was doing something. You take him out, and guess what happened? Our offense immediately started to sputter almost immediately. You know, I really don't understand that call. And I know that we were stuck with Jack Cohn for the rest of the game because Reed Sinnett was eventually injured. He did have that one interception, and he was injured on that play, and he was out for the rest of the game. It looks like he's got an ankle sprain. TBD on when he's going to come back as of right now. So we were stuck with Jack Cohn, and guess what? As soon as he got back in the game, our offense sputtered and stalled again. You know, I like Jack, I really do, but I just don't think he's the answer right now. If Reed Sinnett is healthy, he needs to be back in the game. We need to give him his shot. And if he's not healthy, hell, start J1 Pass. Start him. Give him a chance. Because right now, Jack hasn't cut it. He hasn't. He had that one game against Orlando, and other than that, it's not good. My other takeaway was the offensive line is getting better. A little bit better this game. We did give up 2 sacks, and I noticed that Reed and Jack were not scrambling around as much as they have in the past. Still were scrambling, but not as bad as they have in the past. We've only had one offensive lineman who's played the entire season. Did you know that? It's amazing. We've had so many injuries on the offensive line. It's just a rotating, just a rotation of linemen, and we just can't get any consistency. So no wonder our offensive line isn't doing all that well. We got no rhythm, we got no synergy, we got no consistency, and I really hope we can get these injuries under control and get healthy, because a team cannot do well when they have that much inconsistency on their offensive line. And I also noticed that I think that Jimmy Johnson he called a different style of game. I noticed that he used our running backs in the passing game more. You read the stats. I just read the stats to you that our leading receivers were our running backs. So they were involved in the passing game more than they've ever been before. And I think that Jimmy Johnson was using these short, quick passes to our running backs as an extension of the running game. I don't really disagree with that. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was effective, especially when Reed was in there. Not so much when Jack was, but I think we might have something. At least it was nice to see a little difference. So we'll see how Jimmy Johnson continues as he progresses in his new role. And the last key takeaway was the defense. Our defense continues to carry the lion's share in the game. They're always up to the challenge. They are still getting to the quarterback. We did have a sack in this game. Boy, I tell you, that one sack by, wow. Yeah, that one sack by Jack Kerner just absolutely demolished Kyle Sloter. It was a thing of beauty. I mean, I was at the game and I don't think I ever cheered that hard. It was beautiful to see Kyle Sloter just get plastered by Jack. So we're still getting to the quarterback, and our defense is still keeping the opponents out of the end zone for the most part. I mean, we only gave up 12 points to Arlington. We gave up 15 points to Seattle, the highest scoring offense in the league. And then in Houston, we shut them out in the second half. So our defense is stepping up, allowing a little bit more yardage than I would like, but at least scoring defense, we're keeping the opponents off the scoreboard. It's just that our offense is not playing complementary football, and they're not scoring, and they're not helping the defense at all. And I'm really sad. I feel bad for our defense, playing their hearts out and getting no results and getting no help from the offense. All right, now for the favorite part of this video, and that's my prediction accountability segment. All right, my first prediction, I said that Reed Sinnett will make his season debut at some point in the game. Well, I got this one right, even before the game started, because it was announced before the game and after I had made my prediction that Reed Sinnett would be the starter. And number 2, I said the offense will score a touchdown on its opening possession. Yeah, we punted our first possession. Number 3, I said the defense will have at least 3 sacks and 1 takeaway. Now, I think I should get half credit on this one. I was right about the takeaway. We did get an interception. Happens to be our 4th takeaway in as many games. But I was wrong about the sacks. We got 2 sacks. So I was close. But close only counts in hand grenades and horseshoes. So can't really take full credit for that, but I'll take half credit. All right, number 4. I said the defense will hold Arlington to under 200 yards of offense. Nope. They got 253 yards of offense. I mean, I was right about the under 200 yards. I was just wrong about the team. As it turned out to be, we were the ones that was held under 200 yards of offense. So that means this week's prediction record, I'd say I got 1.5 right and 2.5 wrong. My overall season prediction record is now 4.5 right and 14.5 wrong. Now, I said that San Antonio would come out on top 12-6. I got the 12 points right, but once again, just like my yards prediction, I got the wrong team. So we were the ones that did not get the 12 points. Arlington was the one that got the 12 points. So on that one. So that means the Brahmas have scored 2 points less than I predicted, and Arlington scored 6 points more than I predicted. And my overall season score prediction has the Brahmas scoring 35 points less than I predicted, and the opponent scoring 26 points less than I predicted. Now, as this episode draws to a close, I think it's time for a sneak peek at next week, where we play Arlington again in the second game of our back-to-back and home Texas two-step against those Renegades. Oh boy, do we need this game? Do we need this victory? We need this like we need to breathe if we want to stay in this playoff race. So let's go. And that's it. That's it for this episode. It's time for this Brahma to be put out to pasture. Or at least until next episode. Until then, San Antonio, horns forward!